Mr. Mike Nolan, and then if there's anybody else that still wants to speak that hasn't spoken, you can fill out a card and come up after Mr. Nolan.
Mike Nolan. I had the privilege of standing on this site some years ago with a guy named Jack Howard, who ran Jack Built right across the street, Gordon Howard, who also handled properties in Burbank, Mark Anthony, and Mr. Bob Hope. And while we were standing there, believe it or not, Jonathan Winters pulled up in his Pontiac GTO and wanted to know what we were up to. And what they were talking about is what would fit on that site. There'd been discussions of museums and blah, 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 back and forth. I bring that up as a little bit of history. Those lots have been sitting there since the Shell oil station was pulled down a long time ago when people started buying Christmas trees. But what's going on now and what's in front of you? It's not a Whole Foods. What agreement do you have with Whole Foods that binds them to that site? We're talking about a grocery store at that site. We just went through a situation where a judge told Burbank you couldn't have a Walmart because the decision makers weren't told about a signal that needed to be put in on Victory Place, that the information had been withheld. Read the decision. The senior staff was challenged by the judge for holding back the information. Now let's look at this site. And by the way, Walmart owned the land there, and there was already a building there. You have a media district specific plan that tells you that you've got a certain amount of vehicle trips per day present and projected from the projects you've already approved. And it also includes a number of vehicle trips on Verdugo. Since those decisions were made, the volume and the capacity of Verdugo has been cut by 50% by the bike lanes that were put in. The volume and the capacity has been cut in half. How do you factor that in? The very conflicting times on either side, on Alameda or Olive, at the peak traffic times are peak times for Whole Foods, hopefully for them. How many of you stop at the grocery store on the way home from your place of business? It's combining a trip. It's the way a lot of us have lived for a long time. For traffic reasons alone, this mix at this location won't cut it. Those neighbors are not going to be helped by just having cul-de-sacs. You're talking about bringing a lot of people in to go to the Whole Foods, adding impacts to that area which aren't presently there. I don't see how you can make the findings. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. I have no more cards. Is there